Hello and welcome to the Mind Renovation Nation Show, brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. I'm your host, Nathan Bush, and each show we dive in deep with real estate experts, innovators, influencers to explore some of the challenges faced by you in small multifamily real estate investing. Now, we designed this show to answer some of the questions that you had about researching a market, setting up effective management systems, and maximizing your returns. If you want more of these types of resources, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe or check out the resources and the links in the show description. I'd also like to encourage viewers today, if you're here watching online, please put a comment in the comments section. If you agree with something today, we're talking all about negotiation. So if you agree with something today, put that in the comment. Put what you're learning, what you're understanding and growing in the comments. That helps facilitate a community around real estate investing. All right. So I want to build a community around real estate investing, and here's how you do it. You understand the difference of striking this balance between care and candor. I'm learning that care without candor creates dysfunction in relationships, and candor without care creates distance in relationships. Early in my career, it was easy for me to speak my mind, and I didn't even consider the relationship. I would just talk. I would just explain things. Today, I'm much more thoughtful, but I'm thankful for those people of you, those that have come along. If you've been a previous employee with me or you've worked on a team with me, I appreciate you affording me the opportunity to learn from that experience. Because there was one employee in particular I can still remember today. It was a maintenance technician that worked for me a number of years ago. And he was refusing to do certain kinds of work. He would refuse to do like plumbing or landscaping. He'd even refuse to do some drywall. I know a couple weeks would go by and he would refuse to do cleaning, or he would refuse to do a number of different projects. Well, unfortunately, I didn't have a great relationship with him at that time, and I was way too candid. I took all of the things that he wasn't doing and I put them up on a whiteboard for everybody in the whole office to see. Now, that's not very kind or friendly or thoughtful or caring of another individual, and I'm very aware of that. But in a moment of divine intervention, is the only thing I could consider it. When he blew up, I had this thought. And this thought was to tell him how much I cared about him. And that was the reason why I had written all these things on the whiteboard. I didn't want to bother him with all of these different issues and things that he didn't want to do. Well, over a period of time, it was wonderful that this gentleman was kind enough to work through the relationship with me. That was a bit distant at the time, and we were able to work through those challenges that we had at that time. You know, I think it's important to understand this relationship between care and candor, because when this was the first time in my career, as I tell this story, this was the first time in my career that I ever had that blend of care and candor. Now, I would never approach a maintenance technician in the same way again. I would never follow through and handle things the way that I did back then. But today, that formulates a lesson for me. It helps me better understand striking this balance between being too candid and being too caring. See, I don't want people at a distance, and I also don't want a bunch of dysfunction in my life. And by balancing those two things, you can have better relationships. In today's show, we're going to talk all about the art of negotiation, but we're going to talk about the art of negotiation with balancing this concept of care and candor. Before we go too far into that, I want to thank my first sponsor, Red Maples. Red Maples is your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. If you are looking for an organization that can help you achieve double-digit returns, go over to www.red-maples.com and get an assessment of your portfolio. See if that's even possible. All right, now with the rest of the show. I'm sure you guys have seen this guy before. The Godfather. He says, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Okay, my best Godfather voice. This is not negotiation. This is not negotiation. This is intimidation. This is using leverage in order to get what you want. Today's show is not about leverage, but about leverage. And from the godfather of crime to the godfather of leadership, John Maxwell says this in his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. He says the law of connection is leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Before you can ask for something, you need to emotionally connect with another human being and be in relationship with them to have the right structure in the relationship to even be able to ask for things going forward. If you're trying to dominate, have dominion over, persecute, win, manipulate, these things are not things that set you up for success in relationships. And that's going to be a short-lived outcome. Webster Dictionary defines negotiation as to confer with another so as to arrive at the payment or adjustment of an account of some matter. The art of negotiation, though, isn't in winning an argument, but in winning a relationship. So if you can do these two things, you can confer with another as to arrive at the payment or adjustment of an account of some matter, and you understand that it isn't about winning an argument, but winning the relationship, you now understand the dance of today's show. See, because the dance is a fine line between pushover and push under, between pushover and punisher. Leadership is a balance, guys. And if you're trying to negotiate, you need to understand that this balance between care and candor in the relationship is so critical. According to the National Association of Realtors, 44% of buyers who purchased this year, that's in 2023, say the process was harder than they expected, up 33% who said the same thing in 2022. Buyers blame the following financial barriers for why they believe home buying process has gotten more difficult: exceeding their budget by 45%, higher mortgage rates by 42%, higher home prices by 42%. So the National Association of Realtors also found in its 2023 home buyers and sellers generational trends reports that there are certain stressors particular to different age groups. Okay, so we talked about some of the challenges that people are having when they're trying to buy a home, or if you're trying to sell a home, these are the challenges that people have who are trying to buy your home. Whether you're an investor or a person of the general public trying to buy or sell, understanding negotiation starts with understanding the other person. In the transaction in 2024, these numbers, I'm certain, are getting worse. How do they increase? How do they get better? They get better by getting better at relationships. See, we don't want there to be stressors in the way of a relationship with somebody. And if all you're doing is a transaction, that's not a negotiation. Let me make sure that I make that clear on today's show. A transaction is not a negotiation. A transaction is a purchase. And if all you're looking to do is purchase and not negotiate, then just pay full price and purchase the thing. You don't have to negotiate in order to purchase. Okay? Those are two separate things. Negotiation is all about the relationship. In fact, Katie Dole, in a 2023 blog of the top 3 negotiation challenges and how to overcome them, talks about 3 things. And I found these 3 things as I was preparing for today's show to be extremely important if you care at all about having good relationships with people. Number 1, cognitive biases. What is cognitive biases? Well, they're like little shortcuts our brain makes when we're thinking through different decisions. Think about it like when you're a kid and there's a monster in the shadows, but it's actually a pile of clothes. Our brain jumps to certain conclusions or favorite ideas without all of the facts. And so that's cognitive bias. in negotiation, one of the challenges people will have is cognitive biases. You have a certain opinion, a certain viewpoint, a certain way of doing things, a certain way that you've been thinking about things, the way you've been grown up. Amy Nunn, in her book, Dirty Lenses, talks about it is your perspective that came from your environment, your education, or your influences when you were growing up. Cognitive biases, dirty lenses in front of our way of being able to have a real relationship with another human being. The second thing that Katie Dole talked about in her blog article was deception. Deception is a challenge within negotiation. So if you're going to form a relationship with somebody, it can't be formed on the grounds of deception. Because the minute you're found out, all of the relationship that you built goes away. All of the trust that you've established with another human being goes away. And so if we're going to negotiate with people, we can't negotiate on cognitive biases, but we certainly can't negotiate on deception. In the last challenge to negotiation and how to overcome them in her article, she talked about a weak position. And sometimes you might find yourself negotiating with an extremely weak position or little or no leverage or bargaining power. And so what do you do to overcome this? You're in a weak position. You have zero leverage. Well, if you negotiate the way that I'm going to begin to frame up for you and show on this show today, if you negotiate in this way, utilizing the tools and resources I'm about to give you on today's show, you might just end up not needing to worry about your cognitive biases, any deception that's going on in the relationship, or any weak position that you may be in. There's actually 7 myths. According to the scotswork.com, they do a lot of corporate trainings all across the United States, and they found 7 different myths in negotiation. Wouldn't it be good to know the myths before you get into the benefits or how to actually negotiate? Because I don't want you to go into any of these with cognitive biases. I don't want you to go into negotiation through deception. And I certainly don't want you to go into negotiation through a weak position. So, myth number 1, negotiation is all about winning. Well, we talked about that. It isn't about winning the argument. It's about winning the relationship. Negotiation is all about compromise. Well, in some relationships, you don't need the compromise. Like if my wife asks me to do the dishes, I don't need to compromise with her in the relationship. I just do the dishes. Like it's part of being in a relationship. Negotiation is all about price. No, negotiation isn't always about price, and we'll get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Hopefully by the end of the show today, we'll have busted these 7 myths, with number 4 probably being the most prominent myth that I want you to understand and know. Myth number 4 says good negotiators are born, they're not made. If you want to be a good negotiator, I can assure you that there's some training that can go involved, and you can become a good, if not great, negotiator. Because to me, let's unpack the word negotiator today. A negotiator is somebody who's a person of influence. And if you're a student or a studier of John Maxwell, like I have been my entire life, you might just know or begin to understand that leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. Negotiation is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And it's based upon a relationship. So you're not born as a good negotiator. You're not made, and you're not made and created as a good negotiator. You learn over a period of time to get better at relationships. I mean, think about a baby from the very beginning. A baby is not a good negotiator at all. Everybody says, oh, children are the best negotiators on the planet. They're not. The only thing they know how to do is use whining and leverage and some things. Just because they have a relationship with you makes the negotiation effective. But think about somebody else's child whining and complaining. How much do you want to give to that person at all? The answer to that question is the answer to this show. The first offer sets the anchor. Look, I utilize the first offer to set an anchor in some negotiation situations, but it's not always true that the first offer sets the anchor. There's a way to frame certain things that makes it an anchor, but not all the time when somebody throws out a number is something actually an anchor in a conversation. Negotiations are always confrontational. This isn't true either. There's constant negotiation that goes on in your relationships all day, every day, all the time. You negotiate with your boss, you negotiate with your friends. In fact, I'd say you negotiate more with the people you care about than the people you don't. And lastly, myth number 7 is you should never reveal your bottom line. I don't believe that. I don't believe that that's true. I think you should absolutely be able to talk with people about the ability of what your walk away situation is so that they have a thorough understanding of where your boundaries are. Because again, negotiation is good relationships, and good relationships have good boundaries. Those are established by being candid about the things that you care most about. Okay, so those are the 7 myths that we're going to unpack today in today's show. And I hope by the end of the show today, you have just a little bit better understanding about how to become a more influential person and a better negotiator. All right, I also pulled this statistic. Additionally, companies lacking formal negotiation processes showed a 63% decrease in net income. So if you're worried about your ability to negotiate, sometimes the reason you're not having the successes that you're looking for in negotiation is you don't have a formal process for establishing the relationship. In fact, your income is probably down by 63% because of your inability to negotiate relationships and trust with other people. One of the organizations that Red Maples trusts and that we're so excited to be in partnership because we utilize their services is BBC Global, our second sponsor. BBC Global Services is outsourcing that helps people like you focus on your superpowers, simple and on your terms with no term limits. Get a free consultation with no obligation. Visit www.bbcglobalservices.com to get more information about your virtual assistant. Thank you, BBC, for sponsoring the show. All right. I want to talk a little bit today about a proprietary framework that I have developed to uncover and open up relationships. Now, I've got an entire workshop that's coming up on March 30th, and if you'd like to attend this workshop, just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you with it. The workshop on the 30th focuses 100% on the marketing aspect of the Caesar method. But today, I want to demonstrate the capabilities and an understanding of having a formalized process for negotiation in place around the same process that opens relationships in marketing and sales, opens relationships in negotiation. And that process I have professionally coined the Caesar method. This has taken me years to unpack and understand. In fact, I have read sales books and been to seminars and conferences, and I have trained thousands of people in my career on the process of understanding the elements of the Caesar method. The Caesar method is so important to your organization that if you don't understand the Caesar method, the ability to achieve rapid growth within any organization is slim to none. Organizations that unpack this Caesar method that I have been able to uncover over years of research have been extremely successful, growing from 2 million to over 20 million in revenue in some cases. Even our own Red Maples organization have grown from a limited number of units to just under 200 units in under a year's time frame is when we did that. How did we do that? We did it with this Caesar method. And so here's what the Caesar method is. For those of you that plan on attending my Caesar method workshop coming up on March 30th, here's the formulaic foundation of the Caesar method so that you can use it in your negotiations. And that's how we're going to use it for today. Okay, so the first aspect of the Caesar method is your ability to connect. If you're going to formulate a relationship with anybody, if you're going to do a deal with somebody, if you're going to negotiate with somebody, might it be wise for you to have the ability to connect with them? If you're not connecting with another human being, you're performing a transaction. With a purchase is fine. You can purchase things, but when you purchase, there's not a negotiation that's happening. It's a purchase. So in order to establish and be in relationship with somebody, you have to connect. Now, when you're thinking about connection and how you're going to connect, you also might want to think about where you're going to connect and why you're going to connect with that person and when you're going to connect with that person and what you're going to say when you connect with that person. Connection is a crucial element to relationships. And if you fail to connect, you're going to fail at negotiation. People negotiate with people that they care about. They don't negotiate with people who are distant from them. And so you have to establish a relationship with the people that you want to negotiate. Look, if you don't want to negotiate, don't be in relationship. Think about a marriage. Your marriage requires constant relational negotiation. And people who often fail at marriage fail at their ability to be in relationship, connect with another human being, and negotiate with them. See, I find connection to be one of the most paramount and important aspects of the entire Caesar method. If you don't connect, you don't have a relationship. Now, how do you connect with people? Well, connecting with people happens over a variety of different things. One way to connect with another human being is through food. I know it sounds crazy, but you sit down and you have a lunch with somebody, or you sit down and have a dinner with somebody, you now have a formation of a relationship. That's why so many dates start with food. Sometimes you can talk about or have events or experiences that you share together. That's why oftentimes dates go to a movie or to a ball game or to an environment, to a mutually beneficial environment that's an experience that could be a positive experience for both people. If you want to open a relationship on a phone call or having a conversation with somebody, isn't it wise to have a conversation about experiences that might be mutual experiences that you may be having? I'll give you a perfect example. If you recently attended a Chamber of Commerce meeting with somebody and you call up that person, can't you connect around the concept that you were just at the same Chamber of Commerce meeting? I don't want you to automate negotiation. I want it to be relational. And you do too. If you want effective negotiation, you need it to be relational. So that's the connect aspect of the Caesar method, the C. The second step in the Caesar method is to ask. Ask. Not ask for what you want, but ask a question that gets them to think about the intentions that you have. Okay, how is that even possible? How do I ask a question in order to set an intention for what I have later on? Well, one of the ways that you might be able to ask a question to set an intention later on is to first know what your intentions are. Don't conceal your intentions, reveal your intentions. Every single hard negotiation book that I've ever read is more towards the candid aspect versus the caring aspect of other human beings, because they want you to dominate and rule over that human. I do not. When you learn to negotiate the way that I negotiate, which creates strategic, rapid growth within organizations, you've got to be able to ask questions that demonstrate your intention from the very beginning. And so one of the questions that I like to ask, if it's specific to a real estate transaction, because I know as a real estate investor, you're watching this show trying to, what is the Caesar method? How do I negotiate with utilizing the Caesar method? Well, again, it's a process. It's going to increase your reduction in income by 63% because you have a process in place. So you got to ask with intention. And so one of the ways that I do that is that, like, for instance, let's say that I'm getting ready to buy a piece of property from a real estate agent. I might say to that real estate agent, I'm a real estate investor, and I'm wondering how many other real estate investors you have who are looking at this piece of property as well. Why would I ask that question? Because it tells her my intention. My intention is to buy this as an investment. I'm not trying to conceal or deceive anybody. I'm specifically stating a question that I have that's a fact about the intentions that I have later on. Now, the third step in the Caesar method is so critical. It's so critical. And, guys, I'm not going to have time to go through all 6 of these different steps. I highly encourage you, if you'd like to attend my Caesar method workshop, reach out to me. You can DM me or message me online. I'll be happy to get you a link so you can RSVP to that workshop on March 30th from 8 to noon. However, I will finish up the Caesar method talk today about education and how critical this educational piece is for you. This is a step that most people miss in their negotiation, in their relationship. And that's explaining to people the stories, the principles, and the reasons why your intention is so important to them. What are the benefits to them, and how can they learn about those benefits through what you're trying to accomplish? If we're talking about maybe attending a Caesar method workshop, I might say to you that the Romans, they achieved massive empire expansion in a short period of time. They were the fastest growing civilization and society on the planet. How did they conquer so much territory? How did they make it up? They made it up in 3 different ways. The first way the Romans conquered was through political power. They had political structure in place. Okay, so politics. The second was military power. The Romans conquered so much because they had a mighty military that was well trained. Okay. The third way that they conquered so much territory and achieved levels of success beyond any reproach documented in history was they had roads. Now you think to yourself, roads? What about these roads? Roads were critical. The Romans built roads. And that's what the Caesar method does in your negotiation. It opens up psychological roads to bring people back to you, to assimilate with you. Think about this. Before there were roads between 2 different cities, they would wear different clothes. The minute that there were roads, one person could travel between one city and another city and now learn about the styles and the customs and the clothes of the people in the other city. So now guess what they did? They bought the clothes from their city and brought them back to theirs. And now you have commerce taking place. Those roads were so critical to opening up the relationship so that people could be unified and work towards one common culture, one common outcome. Wasn't that kind of what you want to do in negotiation? Don't you want people to be within the culture that you're trying to define, the values that you have? Wouldn't you much rather not do business with somebody who's trying to lie, cheat, and deceive you? So opening up this culture to them, opening up these roads, opening up communication, opening up this connection, asking the right questions, these all form the foundation of relational intention that you're going to move forward with. The Caesar method is impactful, and it's an impactful strategy that not only can help you in your marketing or sales, but also helps you in negotiation because it's a framework and a road work to open up relationships with people with you. All right, negotiation isn't just about what you gain, but about how you grow together. Again, I'll say that for the cheap seats. Negotiation isn't about just what you gain, but how you grow together. Negotiation is something that happens over long periods of time. I don't ever want you to think about buying your next piece of real estate as a one-off transaction ever again. How can you open up these roads, these relationships with people so that you can continue to buy from them over and over and over and over again? How can you ensure that they're looking out for your best interest? Did you educate them on what's important and what to look out for and how to sell more properties, how to flip a property or how to grow a property? Have you become an influencer in the space, in the industry? Are you teaching people how to do exactly what you've done before? Negotiation isn't just about what you gain. It's about how you grow with other people. And so we find these things to be critical. One organization that I've continued to grow with over my career is this company here, Web Insurance. If you need insurance with tailored solutions specifically for 1099 contractors in the real estate industry, look no further than Web Insurance, our next sponsor. Thank you, Web Insurance. And what their clients love about them is that every year they proactively shop your insurance so that you have the most affordable insurance at the appropriate levels of coverage. So check out www.webinsurance.com if you'd like to get a quote on your insurance needs. All right, so we've covered a lot of stuff in today's show. And man, I hope you guys are getting a lot of value. If you're getting a lot of value, if there's something that you've learned or something that's been important to you, again, will you share it online? That way I can make sure that the people who watch the replays of this show get some of the value right away, and they know to continue to watch the entire show for something that they might pick up, that you picked up throughout the show. All right. Next thing I want to cover with you is, when possible, negotiate favorable terms instead of price. People get bought into this price concept. And price, according to Grant Cardone, is a myth. And so what does he mean by that? Well, there's so many things that go into price, not just what somebody lists something for sale at. One of the ways that you can utilize this concept of not really negotiating over price, but negotiating over terms. And I'm not saying don't ever ask for a better price, guys. Please understand, it's about growing together. It's about making sure that there's not deception in the relationship. It's about achieving specific intentions that are aligned together. It's about being able to ask for multiple referrals long-term in the relationship. So don't get it twisted. I'm not saying don't ever ask for a better price. I'm just saying that when possible, negotiate over terms instead of price. If you're getting down into the nuance, the technicality of the things that you're negotiating on a regular basis, think about the things that you negotiate with your wife. It's not whether you guys can have multiple partners or not. Geez, I hope not. But it's over what time you're leaving work, or who's going to pick up the kid this afternoon, or those types of things are the terms of the relationship. And so you can do the same thing in a real estate transaction or negotiation, where you first agree on price, but really what you're looking for is the negotiation of the terms. And so some terms that you can negotiate over, according to the stressors that people are feeling right now with buying property, is number one, how about negotiating over buying down interest rate? Maybe you pay full price, but the seller buys down the interest rate, therefore making it more affordable on the monthly payment to be able to make money off of the piece of real estate you're buying. Some other concepts are, maybe you're going to put a little bit more money down and have the seller finance the transaction. Utilizing seller financing is a wonderful option, especially if the seller has a lower interest rate right now currently than what you could achieve. See, these are terms of the deal, not necessarily price of the deal. But what you have to understand through asking questions and educating them on your intentions, what you have to understand is what's important to them. How much money do they need right now? How much are they looking to pull out of the transaction? What are they going to use the money for? And this is where, if you get into a transactional situation where it's just, I'm putting in an offer over a price and it's the lowest price possible and I'm trying to just win an argument and not win the relationship, how much of this stuff are you actually going to be able to get out of that deal? Oftentimes, the reason that people utilize professional real estate agents is to put distance between them, the seller, and you, the buyer, or to put distance between them, the buyer, and you, the seller. So your real estate agent then has to be good at building and forming these relationships in order to help come to a genuine understanding and outcome. There's actually practices and rules in place that doesn't allow your real estate agent to disclose certain information to the prospective buyer, which is healthy for you because the whole intention of hiring them is to put distance there. And what I'm asking with the Caesar method is for you to shrink that distance, for you to shorten that, and begin to find who, what, when, where, why, and how you can connect with people who would want to sell you their property. And then look for favorable outcomes that both people will be mutually happy about being in a long-term relationship. The last thing that you guys can negotiate over, and another technical thing, is repairs. And we see this all the time in real estate negotiations. You do your ASHI certified inspection, and then you want the seller to make all of these repairs. But you're not negotiating over price at that point. See, I think that it's so important that you understand those couple of things, that it's all about caring about that other individual. And if you feel the relationship starting to get a little too dysfunctional, or maybe it's your boundaries have been crossed, like mine were whenever that maintenance technician just wouldn't do the things that I asked them to do, I had to find a candid solution to that. Now, I was so bad at relationships, I didn't even take time to develop the relationship with him to begin with. However, in these situations, the relationship now is there. It's established. We care about another human being. They cross a line. Being candid is not a problem. It'll put a little distance in the relationship, but also allow you to work through whatever that boundary is that you feel that other person is crossing. Grant Cardone says this: Most opportunities are disguised as problems. And in negotiations, I want you to think about this. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? Where is the problem with them? Where is the problem with the deal? Where is the problem as to why they can't sell? See, there's a reason that that property is still sitting and hasn't been sold. There's a reason why that person hasn't listed that property on the MLS to be sold. There's a reason why things are going on, that the outcomes that you're looking to achieve are there. You just have to find them in the problems. Become a problem identifier and a problem solver. Because if you can do that through the art of negotiation, you will ultimately end up with better long-term relationships with people because you're constantly looking to help them solve their problems, not yours. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a second and thank, before the end of the show, my sponsor again, Red Maples, our company that keeps this show even possible for you guys. Again, if you're looking for an institutional style property manager that can help you scale your small multifamily real estate empire, head on over to www.red-maples.com/assessment and complete the comprehensive assessment and let us determine how we can best help you achieve double-digit returns in your real estate portfolio. All right. And that, Renovation Nation, brings us again to the end of another episode. I'm Nathan Bush, your guide on this journey of real estate business growth. And remember, just like plants need the right air, soil, and care, our minds need the right environment to build a life of purpose, passion, and growth. I want to take a second and say thank you to Travis Durbin and Keith Duncan, who were both online today. Thank you guys for being a part. Keith Duncan actually had this to say online. He said, glad to see myth number 5 on there. So go back, and if you're fast forwarded through the show, go back and watch myth number 5. And then Travis wanted to make sure he told everybody happy Friday, Nation. All right, guys. So don't forget to get your citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation. Follow us and subscribe to my email list. Hit subscribe on YouTube and stay updated with the latest episodes. If you love today's mind workout, though, share it with a friend who's as passionate as you are about real estate business growth, and just so they can join us and know to join us every Friday at noon like you guys did today. Join me next time for more insights, inspiration, and, of course, a little bit of that nation-building spirit that drives a community created by shared values, purpose, and a commitment to leaving a lasting legacy. Until then, keep building, keep growing, and let's lead more than 25,000 souls to a life of values-based investing. In our journey of Mind Renovation Nation, we often talk about personal growth, we talk about ethical leadership, and making impactful choices. This values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being a steward, not only of our finances, but of our values and vision for the future. Signing off from the heart of St. Louis, stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation. Thanks, guys.